Hey, you are just in time because we have a jam-packed Ham Nation for you coming up right now. Gordo has a pop quiz. I don't know if there's prizes, but we will recognize the winner at the end of the show, and it's going to be awesome. Also, George is going to take us behind the scenes with a tale from the transmitter about a big generator that runs the whole radio station. And this ain't no little 5K deal that you get down at the big box Home Depot store, that's for sure. Newsline with Dr. T and the Solar Report. Valerie has a special guest, Bernie McClenny, with the Daily DX. His call is W3UR. Of course, Amanda's going to wrap it all up with the results of Gordon's pop quiz. So put on your thinking caps because it's time for Ham Nation. Ham Nation is brought to you from LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether employees are working in the office or remotely. Visit LastPass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by ICOM. For more information, visit ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation. And by Hover. Give your business the legitimacy it deserves with the URL .inc. Go to hover.com/twit to get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. This is Ham Nation, episode 474 for October 7th, 2020. Gordo Pop Quiz and the Daily DX. Hey, good evening, everybody. It is 8 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday night if you're watching live, and this is a little program that we like to call Ham Nation. It's all about amateur radio and the camaraderie and the technology and the fun and the fellowship and a little emergency communication, some satellite stuff thrown in, amateur television thrown in. This hobby has so many different facets that if you're bored in the amateur radio hobby, then you're doing something wrong because there's so many different things to do. And we're going to cover a good number of them tonight. We have got George Thomas up in the Jackson, Mississippi area. How are you tonight, my friend?
I'm doing well, Don. I'm waiting for the weekend to get here, and you know why. We've got another hurricane going to hit the Gulf Coast down there, so I wish everyone well. Yeah,
looking to go in just to the east of Lake Charles, and God bless those people down there. They've had enough.
Oh,
but,
wow.
This one hopefully will lose some strength, but it was a Category 4, and I'm supposed to be on vacation to go to Cruising the Coast. That got canceled because, got to work. So, and nonetheless, we are going to go up to close to the Great White North, although it's not real white up there quite yet. But Valerie's here tonight. Valerie, what's going on in your world? What are we, you have a guest tonight, don't you?
We do. We're doing good. We just did the California QSO party last weekend, had a blast doing that. And I've got a special guest on, and I'll give you a hint. But shameless plug, my first cover. But we're going to be talking with something that has to do with what's inside, and it doesn't have to do with me. So stay tuned.
Yeah, that very nice. You and Jerry on the cover. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's very, very cool. Out on the West Coast, where the fires are still burning, and you guys could probably use some of the moisture we're going to get from the hurricane. Gordon West, what's going on out there, my friend?
Well, we wish everybody in the path of the hurricane to be safe. This weekend, it is Nevada's turn for the QSO party. Sierra Nevada Amateur Radio Society, Barry, K6ST, says Nevada's going to be on from 17 counties from Friday evening all the way to Sunday about nooner. They'll be on VHF, UHF, HF, multiple modes, multiple everything. So we hope that you work a lot of Nevada stations, and we hope that you enjoy what we're going to do as a contest. So those in the chat room, get ready. Get on that computer and be ready because we've got 10 questions for you, Don.
Awesome. Yeah, Nevada's kind of rare. So if you can get Nevada, if you don't have one, this is a great opportunity. All right, Gordon. Well, what do you have for us tonight in your segment to lead off the show?
Well, tonight we had such a great response. Everybody tells me at the W5YI group that the webpage that is now offering our 3 audio CD discs about operating on the air was overwhelmed with people wanting to download copies. Again, go to w5yi.org, and on the left-hand side, about 6 down, it talks about how to download the 3 audio CDs, one for tech, one for general, one for extra. Not on passing the test. No, that's a whole different deal. Those are CDs that are part of the actual learning course. But rather the single audio CDs are those that we used to put in the book, but we found out that sometimes they got crunched if the book was mishandled. So now we're offering them free of charge to everyone. And here's a sample of what you'll hear. On the chat room, or if you'd like to send me an email with your answers, you'll get a very special QSL from me and acknowledgement from Amanda. Here's A. What is this? Take a listen. Listen only. No video. Listen.
Uniform Charlie.
All right. Did you get that one? If you know what it is one word. A single word answer as to what you're hearing on likely high frequency. All right, here's our B question. It's on the 6-meter band, and you tell me, and chat room, let's see who's first to get it down there. In chat room, those that have the mostest get the bestest. Here we go with B. What is this?
59, very strong audio. I'm in Long Island, New York. Fox November 30. That's Fox November 30.
Whoa, what in the world is Fox November 30? 2 words describes that for answer B. All right, now that you've got that down there in the chat room, answer question C. What is this, as heard on high frequency? Well, yeah, we know it's data, but what is that specific data? If you don't know, just write down data, and we'll give you partial credit because I have no clue myself. All right, here is question D. On the high-frequency band, sometimes people that have been chatting for a long, long time, their audio gets a little bit distorted.
Here we come back up about 12 volts. 12 volts, and if we just kick on the battery charger, we're going to find that it'll bring us back up here.
So what was the problem of that particular amateur operator station setup? 2 words. First word begins with low. All right, now let's go to the 2-meter band. And the 2-meter band, for those of you up at line A, have an opportunity of doing a little bit of some interesting CW reception. This is from Ken, KB2AMU. Ken recorded this of an incoming message. What in the world was making that CW sound like that, where there was absolutely no tone? Single word for answer E, echo. All right, now we go to answer F, and boy, you got to have a whole bunch of power for this, and a great receiver and a big mama antenna for this 3-letter or 1-word answer. Whoa, what in the world was that? Well, that is a favorite among very special operators. So if you know the answer, that is question question F. So describe that, please, in the chat room. And Amanda's going to be judging, and we'll be looking for her answer as to who gets the most. All right, about 3 more to go. This one is an emergency call right after a big shaker in Southern California. I know the rest of the country, you don't get many shakers, but What is this operator saying to the YL that's running the emergency
Freeway
head?
10, and what section? That will be eastbound and westbound near Washington. The bridges are down.
The what? The what is where? All right, if you were able to copy that, 3 words. First word begins with, well, no, you'll figure it out. Okay. All right, and that was a harrowing experience for that fella driving down the road. All right, now we go to high frequency. This was before Don and George were born. This goes way back to my era of ham radio. 60 years ago, this was a real strong signal that we heard quite regularly on the 20-meter band. One word describes it, but if you want to add the second word as to where it was coming from, that's okay too. Yeah, that would bring a contact down to its knees. So one word, or you can actually say where it came from in 2 words. All right, 2 to go. That was question H. Here is question I, India. And in the chat room, all you've got to do is just type in the 1 or 2 word answers, and then Amanda's going to study them and come up with maybe a tie, who knows what. Emergency communicators for the fires up north. They are doing a fabulous job. No, most of them aren't right on the fire line, but many of them are at shelters, and they've been at shelters for weeks handling shelter comms. And they say the greatest need, as we described a couple weeks ago, is cell phone chargers. Some of the hams, though, are up on mountaintops providing fire watch. And here's a ham describing the fire, and then all of a sudden, his communications went unreadable. 2 words. What's the problem?
What type of fire it was, but the smoke, well, it still contained a little bit. I would say it's from the 91 freeway. It's got to be on the north side of the 91 freeway.
Wow, what the heck was all that interference? So if you know, 2 words, and we'll talk more about that later on. All right, here's our final. It's a cold night out, and hopefully you don't have a hurricane coming ashore as George and Don have in the next couple of days. And again, all of you, we wish you the best on this very major hurricane that is now in warm water approaching the Gulf. Anyway, probably associated with that is this. Now, this is monitoring high frequency on the 40-meter band, and every so often you'll hear these funny noises. Take a listen. Here we go. What was that? 1 word, so if you know the correct answer, let us know. So these are some of the sounds that you'll be able to download, and it's a free of charge download for either technician class, for playing for students or schools or whomever you're teaching for Tech Classic. Gets them really excited about all the neat things on ham radio, or general class or extra class. So we have 3 different ones that you can download at the W5YI.org website. Go to the main page after you click on W5YI.com or .org, and you will be able to get the download nice and easy. So give it a try, and then you'll have your own sound effects. Well, we've got the big ICOM tuned in here. We're getting ready for the Nevada QSO party. And speaking of ICOM,
get out and be active with ICOM's new IC705 and its optional multifunction backpack. Now shipping. The IC705 is your perfect QRP companion, as you have base station features and functionality at the tips of your fingers, and a portable package covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. This compact rig weighs in at 1 kilo, or just over 2 pounds, with RF direct sampling for most of the HF band and IF sampling for frequencies above 25 MHz. 5-watt battery operation with BP272 or 10 watts with a 13.8-volt DC supply. Modes include single sideband, CW, AM, FM, as well as full D-Star functions, a large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, and live band scope with waterfall, micro USB connector, Bluetooth, and wireless LAN, integrated GPS with antenna and GPS logger, micro SD card slot for data storage. It comes standard with the HM243 speaker microphone, and it supports QRP and QRP-P operations. The perfect accessory for the IC705 is the LC192 optional backpack with a special compartment for your IC705 and room for accessories for soda activations or just a day in the park. Visit ICOMAmerica.com/amateur for more information about this and all the great ICOM radios. And ICOM invites you to enter after each episode of Ham Nation by going to ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation and register right there to win some great swag prizes like t-shirts and hats. And you'll also learn there how you might win in the monthly grand prize drawing for a new radio. And for October, that new radio is the ID4100A entry-level D-Star mobile with big rig features. It's VHF, UHF, dual-band D-Star transceiver, one band at a time. It has an upgraded user interface for easier operation, the latest advanced D-Star technology, built-in GPS, micro SD card slot for voice and data storage. There's an optional Bluetooth port available and downloadable Android and iOS apps. So visit ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation after this and each episode and register to win. Sign up and good luck. We were looking a moment ago at the IC705, and I've been telling you for a few weeks now, this one right here is going to be given away. And this is the last time I'm going to tell you how you could still register to win, because the days are drawing very close. It's less than a week left to register on that. If you have not already, you need to do it right after the show tonight. It's the Amateur Logic 15th anniversary episode coming up, not this Friday, but next Friday, October the 16th at 8 Central. And we're going to be giving that away along with some other great prizes. Of course, you've heard all about this rig right here. I got to say, I've had 2 or 3 weeks to play with it now before we send it out. Really impressive. For a portable QRP rig, you would think that you are operating a regular, IC 7300 or any normal bass rig. To go along with that, we've got a couple other things as well, and that is the MFJ Big Ears Antenna Package. The MFJ, what is the number on this? 2289 PKG. It's the MFJ Big Ears Antenna, 18-foot telescopic whips. A tripod is included in this package, as well as the carry bag. You might want a power supply too, because although this rig will run off handy-talkie batteries, you can get 5 watts with those. But if you want to run it off external 13.8 volt, well, here's a great supply right here. You can get 10 watts when you're running with external power. This is a very compact supply from MFJ, perfect for purposes like this. And how about some headsets? Well, the Heil BM17 is a perfect headset for this application. It's designed for emergency communications, but it's equally at home when you're traveling, when you're going portable, backpacking. Great all-around headset. It comes with it doesn't come with, you choose one of 2 different elements. You can have the dynamic element that works with most rigs, and also there is an electric element that works with a lot of older ICOM rigs. And the speakers in this headset are very efficient. It doesn't take much power at all to drive them. So that's a good deal as well. And one other thing we've got to go along with that is this right here. It is the Forrest Mims collection of Engineers Mini Notebooks. A great set here. We've talked about them several times. I've built several projects here on the show using these. That'll be thrown in as well from W5YI and Master Publishing, the same people who published Gordo's books. And we've got a copy of Getting Started in Electronics, the latest edition, in there as well. So how could you win all this? Well, you need to register right now because there's not much time left. Go to amateurlogic.tv/contest. You'll get all the details right there. Very simple registration process, and the emails are not harvested. It costs you nothing to enter. Somebody's going to win it. It might as well be you. amateurlogic.tv/contest. Get the details after the show tonight. I was at a transmitter site just yesterday, and I'll probably be at another one tomorrow. While I was there, I decided to pull out my phone and shoot a little bit of video on something that might be of interest to you. You know, being in amateur radio, most of us are familiar with generators. I've got a little 5 kilowatt Coleman generator that I'm hoping I won't need it this weekend, but you never know. It's good to be prepared. Same thing for a commercial radio station, except that 5 kilowatt generator won't quite cut it. So here's what we use at this particular site. This week on Smoke and Solder, it's Tales from the Transmitter. And this is not a particularly spooky tale, unless you're scared of the dark and this thing doesn't work. This is a 100 kilowatt Generac Guardian Elite generator. It's used to power an FM station during a power failure. This is not a diesel engine because we've got 4 coil packs there, and up under those coil packs are spark plugs. There's no identification on the outside of the engine as to what brand or size. Those coil packs do look familiar though. We'll take a look at the dipstick here, and yeah, it is a Ford engine. This one, however, is not gasoline. It's been converted to run on butane. This is a 1,000-gallon tank. We've got dual exhaust, and the cabinet is lined with sound-absorbing material really well. However, this thing is still a good bit louder than a car engine. Having spark plugs and it being a V8, it does look a lot like an automobile engine. One thing I wanted to mention, and I've talked about this before, it's a good idea to cover the terminals on your battery and the ends of the cable with grease. That way air and moisture can't get to it and you won't have a corrosion problem. Just how big would a 100 kilowatt generator itself look like? Well, there it is. Pretty fair size. The engine says that it was manufactured 20 years ago. So how many hours would be on this generator? 631. It's run a few days. Now, just for comparison, here is an 80 kilowatt Onan diesel generator at the same site. They have their auxiliary transmitters located here. It's a little bit smaller, and there is a diesel tank. I'm not sure how many gallons that is. Not as large as the other. We'll step in the transmitter building. Here's the transfer switch for the Generac generator. It's pretty fair size. Here are some fuses for the utilities coming into the building. 3-phase, 400 amp. So, pretty fair size fuses there. If we look at the transfer switch, well, this is actually just a big relay, or you might call it a switch. 3-pole double throw. It's got the utilities on one side, it's got the generator on the other, and the load, which is everything in the building, connected to the center. You see that little knob back there on the side? You use this wrench right here so that you can manually transfer in case the auto transfer doesn't work. You can switch between utility or standby power manually. That controller will fail sometimes, and hey, that's the only choice you got left. So just how loud is this generator? Very. And there's a little tells from the transmitter site for you tonight. I noticed over in the chat room they were discussing it a little bit. One thing about the fuel, I have another generator just like that one at the studios. This one was located way out in the hills, away from everything. The one at the studio is running off natural gas, so I don't have to worry about keeping the fuel tank filled on it. This one was running off butane. Butane is cheaper to operate with than gas, and it's cleaner, easier to deal with. And, you know, there's a lot of trucks in rural areas that deliver butane, so you can get it pretty easy and in big quantities like that. Diesel engines may be a little better. I've had diesel generators before. They are a lot nastier, and you'll notice your oil turns black a lot quicker. These natural gas and butane generators run really clean, although they are not quite as rugged and won't pull quite the load that a good diesel generator will. So that's my story for this week. Don't forget to go register for those two contests, icomamerica.com/HamNation and amateurlogic.tv/contest. There's some great radios coming away, and I would really like to give this one right here to someone. Well, I will. I'd like to give it to you. So go register. And now here's Don with all the amateur radio news.
From Amateur Radio Newsline Report, number 2240, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, October 7th, 2020. As Newsline went to production, hams were waiting to hear the outcome of an FCC meeting on whether to eliminate amateur radio access on the 3.4 gigahertz band. Newsline anchor Stephen Kinfort, N8WB, has more.
The ARRL has urged the FCC once again to preserve ham's secondary status on the 3.4 gigahertz band rather than proceed with its proposal to remove amateur activity. In a recent phone call with FCC staffers, the ARRL reiterated the argument it had made earlier this year in formal comments filed with the Commission. The ARRL has maintained that preserving secondary use by radio amateurs will not have a negative impact on any primary licensees in the future, including those providing 5G services. The FCC was to meet on Wednesday, September 30th on the matter. There was no indication when that decision was to be made public. Please visit Newsline's Twitter feed and Facebook page for updates.
When it comes to planning for emergency coverage, hospitals and hams are a natural team.
With the help of a local hospital, hams in Callum County, Washington are hoping to provide the county with a security blanket of RF coverage. Their effort has been a 2-year project between the Callum County Amateur Radio Club and Forks Community Hospital. According to club member Joe Wright, KG7JWW, who is also an area emergency coordinator for Aries in Forks, the goal is to establish, quote, operational areas, unquote, throughout the county, including the vast prairie, and serve those areas with more radios and repeaters. While standard communication will continue to rely on the VHF repeater and vertical antenna, the goal is to extend the range, linking to UHF repeaters beyond. Joe credited the hospital for having established an on-site amateur radio station after 9/11 for Callum County Aries. He said the hospital has also assisted in other ways, including with installation of a repeater and equipment for an emergency radio site on Gunderson Mountain, just outside of town. He told Newsline, quote, the new repeater location has significantly increased our coverage, unquote, and other expansions are in the planning stages. One of them is for a location that will cover the county's farthest northwest areas and cross over to Vancouver Island, British Columbia. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Christian Kudnick, K0STH.
Imagine 27 years on the job. The team behind a satellite called AMRAD Oscar 27 has no trouble imagining it at all. The satellite just marked its birthday in space.
Happy 27th birthday to the satellite that was launched from French Guiana in September of 1993 and is still on the job. Hams around the world have made contacts with AMRAD Oscar 27, which has also been used for a successful D-Star mode satellite QSO. Even after a temporary outage in 2012, the team behind the project couldn't be prouder of the satellite's longevity and its reputation for being relatively easy to work. AO-27 was built by the Amateur Radio Research and Development Corporation, AMRAD, in McLean, Virginia. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Neil Rapp, WB9VPG.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Stephen Kinford, N8WB, Christian Kudnick, K0STH, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now, here's the solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
We say goodbye to a bright region and calm down from a big solar storm, but not before a mini solar storm gives us one more chance for aurora. Those stories and more in the news this week. Space weather this week has been quite the story. Over the past week, we've been dealing with a big solar storm that has bumped us up to G2 levels and has lasted multiple days. And as we take a look at the front side sun, you can see the culprit right there. That is a big coronal hole, and that's what's been sending us an extended burst of fast solar wind, and that has brought aurora down to many parts of the world, even down to mid-latitudes. However, we are beginning to wane just a little bit. That coronal hole is now rotating to the sun's far side, and it's taking with it region 2773. This region has been boosting a solar flux into the mid-70s over the past week or so. However, as it rotates to the sun's far side, it is beginning to drop that solar flux down again. So we're going to get to the low end of marginal for radio propagation on Earth's day side, especially since we don't have any more bright regions in Earth view, and we don't see a lot on the sun's far side. So amateur radio operators and emergency responders, I'm afraid you're just going to have to hang in there for a little bit. Meanwhile, before we drop completely back down to totally quiet conditions, we do have a mini solar storm that's hitting right now, and it's managed to boost us up back to active conditions. So we might get a little bit more aurora, especially at high latitudes and possibly down to mid latitudes here over the next 24 hours before we finally get a reprieve. Aurora photographers can take a look at all their aurora photos, change the batteries in their cameras, and just say, whew. Switching to your M-flare threat meter, as we take a look at the X-ray flux, it continues to be a bit on the low side, and therefore by proxy, the solar flux continues to be low. We have had region 2773 boost that flux just a little bit, but it's really not been a flare producer, as you can see by pretty much the flat line here. And it's going to continue to be that way over this past week. And as you can see near the very end of the plot, you can see that red line beginning to tank. That's from region 2773 rotating to the sun's far side. Along with that X-ray flux, so is the solar flux beginning to tank. We could be at the very low end of marginal for radio propagation here on Earth's day side, and sadly, it's going to continue to be that way easily over the next week. So amateur radio operators and emergency responders expect to have marginal to maybe even poor radio propagation here over this next week, and hopefully things will improve after that. Switching to our solar storm conditions, can you believe it? We've actually been a bit on the stormy side. It's been so long, I almost forgot what storms look like. Back on the 24th, we got hit by a small pocket of fast solar wind that managed to bump us up to storm levels, but then we kind of quieted down for a little bit. And then by the end of the 25th, we got hit by a bigger pocket of fast solar wind. It bumped us back up to storm levels, and we got some gorgeous aurora photos, and yet the storming sporadically just kept happening. And by the 28th, big bam, we were up at G2 level solar storms. We were having gorgeous aurora even down to mid-latitudes. And then things kind of calmed down a little bit and calmed down a little bit. And finally, by the turn of the month, we were finally getting back into the green. And yet, even as we've calmed down and really been gone back to quiet conditions, bam, we get hit yet again. Here's that mini solar storm that I was talking about. And it doesn't take all that much because the Earth shield is just so rattled. So we're back up to active conditions now. And this may last easily over the next 24 hours before things finally begin to quiet down yet again. Switching to your solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we are getting hit with that mini solar storm that's hitting Earth right now, and it's going to probably cause issues for the next couple days. At high latitudes, NOAA is expecting active conditions, but we do have up to about a 25% chance of a major storm. Now, at mid-latitudes, we're also expecting active conditions, but only about a 5% chance of a minor storm. But these conditions will begin to wane very slowly, and by about midweek to the latter part of the week, we should definitely be settling back down to quiet conditions, especially at mid-latitudes. High latitudes might take a little bit longer to settle down. And then as we roll into the weekend, things will be nice and quiet, hopefully, and everybody can kind of breathe a sigh of relief as things get back to normal. Switching to your solar flare and particle radiation storm outlook over the coming week, everything continues to be in the green when it comes to big solar flares. We have a spotless sun right now, so we have no risk for radio blackouts, and that should make GPS users very happy. I know we've been dealing with a solar storm, which kind of makes GPS reception a little bit dicey, but at least we don't have solar flares to contend with or radio bursts that can cause issues for you as well. So enjoy things as things begin to quiet back down with that solar storm, because GPS reception will continue to get better and better, especially on Earth's night side. Sadly, though, with the spotless sun, we also have solar flux sitting in the low 70s. I'm going to take a risk and not drop it down to the high 60s, but man, we're going to be hugging that hairy edge of marginal for radio propagation on Earth's day side. Hopefully, also with those solar storms dying down, that makes amateur radio operators and you emergency responders a bit happier that propagation is going to get a little bit easier for you, especially on Earth's night side. Now, also because we are still trying to climb out of solar minimum, we do have a higher cosmic ray flux than we normally would have. So you frequent flyers, and this does include aircrew who fly over 800 hours annually and fly at high altitudes and high latitudes, you are in the moderate range for radiation dose, and this does include prenatal passengers. So please take this into consideration in your flight plans. So the space weather this week is trying to calm down. We've been dealing with a big solar storm over this past week that's brought aurora to many parts of the world. And just as we begin to settle down from that, wham, we get hit by yet another little mini solar storm, and we're back up to active conditions. So this means we get another chance for aurora here over the next day or so, especially at high latitudes. And sadly for you satellite operators, well, I know the geo environment's pretty tough right now. We're getting some decent deep dielectric charging risk. And with this mini solar storm hitting, that's only going to make things and exacerbate things even worse. So we were hoping things were going to calm down over the next couple days, but it looks like you may have maybe as much as a week before things really begin to calm down in geo orbit. So just kind of hang in there. Meanwhile, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, we're losing region 2773 as well. So the solar flux is dying back down, and we're going to be sitting at marginal radio propagation conditions on Earth's day side. And sadly, from the look on the sun's far side, it doesn't look like there's much of a reprieve there. So just hang on for another week or so, and let's hope we get some more bright regions in Earth view. Meanwhile, GPS users, well, thank goodness the solar storms are slowly beginning to die down, because that means GPS reception is going to get better, especially on Earth's night side. And with the low solar flux and no solar flares or radio blackouts, GPS reception on Earth's day side should be pretty good. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Dr. T. A great follow on Twitter at Tamitha Skov. Also, she has a YouTube channel, Tamitha Skov, and of course, spaceweatherwoman.com. Everything you need to know or learn about space weather, she distills it down into something that even I can understand. So we certainly appreciate her a lot. Really, really do. All right, another one we appreciate is Valerie, NV9L. She has got a special guest tonight. Valerie, take it away.
Thanks, Don, and we appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
So, guys, pull out your CQ September magazine, open up to page 80, And there's a really nice article in here on the history of the Daily DX. And so we thought it would be nice to have Bernie on, W3UR, Bernie McClenny, who's going to be joining us. And I wanted to talk to him a little bit about a bunch of different things he's got his hands in. So welcome, Bernie.
Hey, good evening, Val, and thanks for the opportunity to do this.
Oh, no problem. So for those of you who don't know, Bernie does a daily DX. It's an email newsletter that you get, and he also does a weekly DX. But before we get into that, just kind of tell us a little bit how you got into the hobby, when you got in, and things like that.
Well, I was 12 years old, and my dad came home from work and said he wanted to go to this class to learn about amateur radio. And long story short, he went, I went, and I didn't want to do the class. Well, he got his license, and within a few months, he was on the air, working stations all over the world, and he had a map up on his wall in his shack. And I said, oh, that's what I want to do. And then I went and took my novice and went from there, and was quickly a DXer within the first probably 3 months. I was starting to work DX stations.
Now, how old are you in this photo right here?
I'm probably 14 or 15 years old. This is at my old QTH in Ashton, Maryland.
And I see your little handmade CW key there. What was your call sign?
WB3JRU.
Okay. And I heard your mom was a ham as well. Is that right?
No, not my mom. My dad, my wife, my daughter, and my son is starting to. Even at the age of 28, he's thinking about getting his license here also.
So kind of tell people about the daily DX and the weekly DX and what that's all about, kind of how you got that started real quick.
Okay, so I had worked in the hardware business for 15 years, and I kind of saw the writing on the wall as to what was going on with our small company. And I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I knew a friend of mine, KE3Q, Rich Boyd. He and I talked, and he's this entrepreneur type of guy, and he and I came up with the idea of doing a daily DX newsletter. In fact, he came up with the actual name and started off with approximately 60 to 70 of my friends and DXers from around the world. And I said, look, this is what I want to do. I'd like you to get a free trial to this. Let me know what you think after a month. After 2-3 weeks, guys were saying, this is great. You should do this. And so we started the Daily DX March 17th, 1997.
So was it always email format? Because I remember the old sheets that they used to have, right?
Yes, it's always been email. It was the first, in a daily format. Some people said it was too much, and that's how the weekly DX ended up happening. Bob, WB2Y,
I think we have some samples here.
Yeah, this is the Daily DX. It gives you DX news, IOTA news,
the next one. Show the next
forecast.
One. There you go.
QSL information, a calendar that's updated daily, QSL info, places that are of interest on the World Wide Web to hams with interesting sites.
And as you can see, that's a really old one there we just put up just to show you what it's like. And you also have the weekly DX. So if you don't want to get, reading those emails every day, this is really a nice, this is a nice consolidated format just to get it weekly, let you know what's coming up, what's going on.
Right. That comes out on Monday afternoons.
And I think show the next slide, because I think we have, you have a really nice thing on there. You can subscribe for 2 weeks for free and just see what you think. So check it out. See if you like it. See if it's something that's beneficial to you. Those of you out there just starting to get into DX or chasing IOTA, this is a really good way just to see if this is something you can do. And it's not just a list of what's coming on. It sort of gives you the overall picture of things, sort of. So it's really nice. We subscribe to it. Jerry gets it every day in the inbox, and we look through that. We schedule vacations around some of that stuff,
Yeah, a lot of people
so I
do
know
that.
you're I know you're also got your hands in a lot of other stuff. For those of you who don't know, he does the House DX in the QST. So you keep busy. You're doing a lot of writing here. So hats off to you to really giving back to the community and doing a lot to help the community, especially the DX community. So I think we're going to talk about, I know we're kind of in a dry spell because of COVID. And so maybe you want to talk about anything that's coming up or anything we can look forward to. We got to have something to look forward to, right?
Yeah. Well, we all need something. The good thing is, to be quite honest, if you can find something good out of the COVID, is a lot of people who have been off the air for a long time are now coming back to ham radio and getting on the air. And we're seeing a lot more DX stations get on the air. Not necessarily the rare ones, but more DX stations, more stations that are operating in contests and whatnot. So there is some good things going on. But I think in the future, we've got a lot of guys right now that are at home, the expeditioners, that are thinking, well, where can I go next? And they're working on them. I'm hearing it, but it's with the COVID, it's kind of messing things up with their transportation issues and getting into these locations. But there are things happening. The ones that have been made public is, we all know that Bouvet is supposed to come on at the end of the year by Dom 3Z9DX. He's, as far as we know, he's still planning to go. I have recently heard that another group is actually looking at going to Bouvet also. That's the number 2 most wanted. Looking at the list of the top.
Why don't you put that up there? Put up that most wanted list, that next slide we have.
Yeah, there you go. The top 25 list here. Like I said, number 2 is Bouvet. Number 14 is another one that's on the books for probably early 2021. A group of Hawaiians are looking at that. There's also another group that's looking at that. Number 17, PY0T, Trindade. I know that before the COVID, a group from Brazil were working on this one. So I'm sure they're trying to at least get things lined up. Mount Athos, last summer I had the pleasure of meeting Monk Iakovos, SV2RSG, when he was stateside, and he's now the single ham who is on the air now. There are other hams, and we may see more in the future. Number 22 is about to come back on the air. That's Manami Torishima. JG8NQJ, Tuck is headed back there, I believe, next week, and he'll be there for about three months. And he works at the weather station there on Marcus Island, and he gets on in his spare time. I believe this time he'll be on CW only, maybe some digital, and I think only 1 or 2 bands. I don't remember which bands they were. And then the only other one that's has been announced is ZL9, number 23, and we know that the Perseverance DX group is going to go there in early 2022. So those are things that are public at this point. I'm sure they're, like I said, as soon as this COVID goes away, I think we're going to see a lot of the expeditions on the air.
Yeah, I know. Jerry knows of one that he's on a list for the secret right now. So my lips are sealed on that. But yeah, I can't wait for these things to start popping, especially now after Dr. T was talking. We're finally starting to get out of the cellar on this solar minimum. So it'll be really nice to have some stuff to work. So, well, I do want to thank you for all you do. If people want to go sign up for the Daily DX, the 2-week trial, what do they what's the website?
www.dailydx.com, and just click on the free 2-week sample. You can get the daily and the weekly. Try it for 2 weeks and see what you think.
Very good. Thanks again, and look forward to seeing some really juicy stuff coming up. Appreciate you coming on tonight. Also, we've got some contests coming up, so we're in contest season, so that's a good thing. And like Bernie said, and I've really noticed this, there is a lot more activity in the contest now that everybody's kind of stuck at home. But as Gordo mentioned, we have the Nevada QSO party, which is pretty rare, but also South Dakota, nice and rare. So if there's some counties you need there, make sure you get on the air and work them. We have the Pennsylvania QSO party and the Arizona QSO party this weekend. So Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, and South Dakota, 4 QSO parties this weekend. We'll be on the air doing the SAC sideband, Scandinavian Activity Contest. We like that contest. A lot of people to work in Scandinavia, so you can keep real busy with that one, and it's a lot of fun out in HF to work them. Next weekend, we've got 2 state QSO parties. New York, big one, and then my home state, or Illinois. So 2 big states for next weekend. So if you want to keep busy and enjoy this hobby, there's plenty to keep you doing it. So that's all I've got for this week. So I'm going to pass it over to Don, who's going to tell us all about Hover.
Yeah, like I said at the top of the show, there's something for everybody in this hobby. And if you get bored, it's your own doggone fault. That's for sure. Thanks, Val. Great interview tonight, and Bernie, thanks for coming on tonight. Excellent stuff. Really appreciate everything you do with the Daily DX over there. Yeah, let's talk about let's talk about Hover, because this episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by Hover. What is Hover? Well, you work hard to create your business, and then even harder to make it incorporated. So stake your claim for the best domain extension with Hover. Hover is now offering the URL .inc. The .inc gives your business the legitimacy and authority that it deserves. It builds trust by communicating to your customers that you are indeed the real deal. The .inc protects your brand as well. If you already own a domain name for your business, you can still get .inc to forward to your current domain. Using a .inc URL also boosts SEO, which will expand your internet presence. The .inc domain name comes with a whole suite of discounts and features to get your company off the ground and pushing forward. And what's even better, the .inc domain registry is partnered with some incredible organizations to offer you membership benefits, and also comes with a whole slew of marketing benefits. So it's a win-win. And Hover has over 400 plus domain name extensions to choose from if .inc isn't for you. They have a powerful domain and email management tool. They're intuitive and easy to use, whether you're a web pro or you're just getting started. No matter what you want to achieve, there's a domain name just for you. Get excellent technical support. They're available to answer any question, and their support team will not upsell you. They only work hard to get you online. It's good stuff. Hover is amazing. Free WHOIS, privacy protection, a clean and easy to navigate to UX UI, monthly sales on popular top-level domains, and a whole lot more. Your website needs to communicate the seriousness of your brand, and .inc does just that. Let the world know that, yes, you mean business with .inc. Grab .inc today with Hover. Go to hover.com/twit to get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. That's hover.com/twit for 10% off your domain extension for a full year. And we, of course, thank Hover for their support of Ham Nation. Time to go over and see what Amanda is doing with the chat room. Now, you got a little assignment from Gordon earlier today about the Q&A. So I'm sure we have some winners, right?
Oh, this was really hard to tally, actually.
I bet it was.
Yeah, Gordo, I'm telling you. So we had, and I know Gordo is moving pretty quick, you guys. So you can see as people caught on that you were quizzing them, there was more and more activity. So like the first question, we only had 3 answers, maybe 4 answers for the pileup. So this is a cumulative, all right? And it's not an accurate tally. Let's put it that way. Let's start here. Jocelyn, KD8VRX. He answered all 8 questions as far as I can tell in the chat room.
Wow.
He did not answer all of them correctly. This was a big one. The lightning kind of threw people for a loop. So a lot of people were saying QRM. Gordo, do you give that a pass that it's QRM? Or you say it's absolutely...
No, QRM, Amanda, as we both know, would be interference man-made. But QR in November, I'll go for QR in November, but not QRM. And yes, it was lightning.
Okay, lightning it was. A lot of people said, one person said heterodyne, another said a lot of people said QRM, by the way, and splatter, lots of splatter. The next one, the wind noise, that one was pretty obvious. One person said firenado. So you do not be that close to a firenado if you're going to talk on the radio. Get the heck out of there, okay?
Wow.
Eric, run for your life if you hear a firenado in the background, and you tell the person that's trying to talk to you to run as well. The woodpecker one, Gordo, I couldn't guess this for the life of me, honestly. Most people had it correct. I couldn't believe how many people knew that it was the woodpecker noise. Amazing.
Amanda, they would have to be over 50 years old to remember the woodpecker.
Okay, there you go. That you guys are aging yourselves now. Quite a few correct answers on that. The bridges are down. I accepted bridges down just because, the intermittent, no problems here. Now, the EMEs, most got that correct. Lots of people said, one person said noise, but mostly EMEs. This is the amazing one, Gordo. I believe that I only saw one correct answer for Aurora. And
really? Wow.
Yes. One person said meteor.
Nope.
And other people guessed EME during that question, which was the question after. So, yep, KJ4 CMY, you get a special mention because I think you were the only one that said Aurora in the amount of time that I was giving for these answers. So, low voltage. So lots of low battery or bias shift, low voltage, low pass, low frequency, low voltage. So good guesses there, you guys. The data one, people were really trying in JT8, PSK, FT8, SSTV data. One of the digital modes is what Jocelyn finally says. And Bob, he says, Olivia, ? Data of some kind. So, great there. The grid square. Well, this was a given. They did get grid square or Maidenhead grid square or grid number.
Yes.
Yep. All are acceptable answers. Pileup. Now, this is where it was a really low number because people weren't really knowing that you were quizzing them. So all 4 got it correct, by the way. All 4 got pileups. So I'm going to give it to Jocelyn at this point in time, and I'm going to relook over our chat room text, you guys, and I'll have a real answer next week. But so far, KD8VRX Jocelyn is the winner with answering all 8 questions, and he did miss one of the answers, but for now, he's the winner. So, all right.
Winner. Good. Thanks, Amanda.
Yes, absolutely. That was fun. I think the chat room agrees. And now they're making some mentions of people remembering the Russian OTH radar very, very well and how much noise it caused them. I believe on 40 meters. Is that correct, Gordo?
Yep, 40 and 20. They hammered us.
I'm glad we don't have to deal with that. All right. I have a couple of things to mention here. This week is Fire Protection Safety Week. So there's lots of special events out there on the air. And I just wanted to mention that KC7 FPF, our wonderful net control Kevin, is also handling those special events. Look for In4 Foxtrot, November 4 Foxtrot, or go to hamfire.com to find out more information about this. You'll hear these on the air all week long, and we really appreciate it. And just to mention that, you know what their purpose is to remind you of things of like checking your smoke detectors and your fire alarms and things like that. So be sure to do that. Go out there and work them as well, because they have some pretty cool QSL cards. Other than that, Don already talked about Hurricane Delta. So again, Don, we're wishing you well. Like, when does your 2020 end even?
Yeah, I'm ready for that. Well, thankfully, it looks like it's going to go in, like I said earlier, over around Lake Charles, east of Lake Charles, which, as the crow flies, is 170 miles away from us. So it was a Category 4 last night. It crossed over the Yucatan and dropped down to a 1. But I just got a notification on my phone that it is strengthening again and will probably be a 3 or a high 2. By the time it makes landfall on Friday. And then it's moving like 17 miles an hour, so it's not going to linger like the last one. It's going to scoot on out of here, and it'll be mainly just a wind event for us, and maybe tropical storm force winds here at like 39 or so, and there's like a 40% chance of that. So I don't think it's going to be an issue for us because it is going in so far away. But, of course, those people down along the central Louisiana coast, we certainly feel for them.
Absolutely. Well, hey, another thing I wanted to mention real quick, George, thanks again for hosting your Amateur Logic Sound Net last night. That was great. Marty did a great job. Yeah,
I think George is gone. But,
George
does a great job. 15 years of Amateur Logic. Can you believe that? That's amazing.
It is amazing. And I feel bad I wasn't looking at my screen over here. So we have the beautiful Miss Valerie. So I'm so sorry, Val.
I kind of look like George, maybe. Hey, I wanted to mention to Gordo. Gordo, you had said that we don't get earthquakes where we are. We've had a swarm of earthquakes today in New Madrid. So right just south of us, there's like about 10 or 12 small. There were small ones, 2.4s to 2.6s. So they're heading our way. So I'll have to try and record some of the radio signals if I can hear them.
Right.
That would be amazing. There is one other mention I wanted to make here. Don, if you made this mention and I missed it while I was in transition, I apologize. But I would like to congratulate Victor and his family on a beautiful newborn baby. A baby boy. What's his name, Don? Help me out. Jordy, that's right. Okay.
Jordy, yep. He was born on the 5th, which happened to be Bob Heil's 80th birthday.
Wow.
So how do you like that? And here's the cool thing. All of this is Victor's 4th child, and they were all born on the 5th of the month.
Huh.
Wow.
So that's some kind of a weird trend there. I'm not real sure what's going on there. But, yeah, congrats, Victor, and happy birthday to Dr. Bob. Wow, 80 years apart. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Well, happy birthday to all. All right, let's see. Let's go over some nets. We've got D-Star on 14 Charlie. We have DMR on 31012. We've got Steve W7UDI. I do believe he's on 20 meters this evening on 14268. And I'm not sure if Kevin is going to be with us. I think he is. Look around 7192 for that. Also, just a big reminder, with the hurricane nets happening, stay away from their designated frequencies. Please stay away. I don't care what special event you have. Just don't operate on those. So with that, Dawn, I'm going to assume that you're going to wrap it up this evening.
I believe I am. Let's go down to Valerie, see if we have any parting thoughts of wisdom from the lovely Val.
There's no wisdom here. I'll just see you guys on the air this weekend, and I will stay away from the hurricane frequencies.
Just do what I do. Fake it till you make it. Gordo, last words from you tonight.
thank you to Amanda for being the judge. And the audio sounds are absolutely free at w5yi.org, and do the download. And instructors, you'll find that playing audio with our instructor's guide, which is also free, can really help you not have to lug in all of those big radios. But nothing beats live radio for a classroom demonstration. Don?
You're absolutely right. When we had Dad's big hairy radio school at the kitchen table when Tyler was studying for his test, I brought in some actual show and tell stuff, and yes, we used the audio CDs from the book, and he passed the first time. So yeah, it works. Gordon's system works. So get them. W5yi.org.
It worked for me too. I used his CDs to learn to pass my extra. So, man, I listen to him all the time.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So good stuff, Gordon. We appreciate everything that you've done over the decades of teaching us all about ham radio. George, great stuff for you tonight with the 100,000-watt generator. I remember the first radio station I worked at had an old military surplus generator. This was 42 years ago. Had an old military surplus generator, and the way that you dialed it in on the frequency, Gordon, you'll know what I'm talking about. It had the vibrating reeds where you tweak the throttle until the reed, they were vertical reeds, and the whatever frequency you had, that reed would start vibrating, and you had to get it as close as 60 as you could. Otherwise, back in the days with turntables and tape machines, they would either run fast or run slow. So thankfully, those days are over with, but that was pretty crazy to be out in the middle of tornadic weather in Oklahoma trying to crank probably a 40-year-old generator. Yeah, I don't miss those days. Anyway, good stuff. That's awesome to see the behind the scenes of radio stations and broadcast facilities. Very cool. All right, Bob
Don,
is.
Don, I have a demo that you can use. Put your tongue across that, and
yeah, yeah, maybe later. Let me tell you something. I can remember taping one of those to like the bottom of our wooden stools in electronics class with a couple of pieces of hookup wire and a couple of thumbtacks. Yeah, I'd light you up butt good. Exactly. And with that, I think before I tell too many stories and violate some law somewhere, I don't know. It's been a fun life, that's for sure. All right, guys. Thanks to Dr. Bob for putting us all together, and thanks, of course, to everybody over at TWiT for twisting the knobs, and thanks to you for giving us a reason to all meet here on a Wednesday night. So with that, for the assembled assembly, we'll say goodnight, 7-3, and we'll see you next week. Good night from Ham Nation.
I'm Jason Howell, host of Hands on Android, where each week I take a look at the Android operating system and really dive deep into what it can do for you and how it can improve your quality of life, whether it be tips and tricks on how to use it better, whether it can be little known secrets that open up a world of possibilities. So many topics to dive into, including your emails. Subscribe by going to twit.tv/HOA. We'll see you there.